This is a celebrity chart review of Frank Lloyd Wright and his human design chart. My name is Evelyn Levinson. I'm with humandesignforsuccess.com. Just to be clear, this is not a reading. It's a brief overview of a chart. I'm just pulling out a few key points about this chart to give you a few insights into this person and how his chart played out in his life. And toward the end of this overview, I'll also talk a little bit about his incarnation cross and his chiron energies, which will give you some additional depth into understanding this person, and will also give you a little taste of what's covered in my advanced reading called the Life Path and Soul Mission reading, which focuses exclusively on incarnation cross and chiron energies. So on to Frank Lloyd Wright. As you know from the background information in my blog post about him, he was a very influential and prolific architect, interior designer, furniture designer, author, and teacher. He designed so many structures and interiors and furniture that were in harmony with humanity and with the environment in which the structure existed. It's a philosophy that he called organic architecture. Now, he passed away in 1959 at the age of 92 after more than 70 years of active creative contribution to the world. He was also very opinionated, not easy to get along with in business, and had some tempestuous personal relationships. So let's see what his chart can tell us about this remarkable man. I'll scroll down so you can see the information at the bottom of the chart here. He was a manifestor. And he was a 1-3 profile, single definition, and emotional authority. So let's just kind of start there and let me just highlight a few important aspects of his chart. First of all, he was a manifestor. Manifestors are designed to start things, to create, like the cue ball on a pool table, bumping into people and causing other things to occur. And he definitely did that. He started quite a movement and I think stimulated a lot of innovation in architecture after his own initial innovation. The theme for manifestors, the emotional theme, can be anger when they're not following their strategy. I think he exhibited some anger and a little testiness in his life, which we'll also see in other parts of his chart. Manifestors are often misunderstood, and can somewhat be intimidating to other people because of this powerful energy that they have and that they express in the world. And I think he was very likely an intimidating type of person, especially in personal relationships, from the little I understand about those relationships. He was an emotional authority, so the solar plexus center here is defined. So he was emotional. So he was designed to take his time to make decisions and to wait through his emotional wave, which he may or may not have done. Here we see he has two motors to the throat, the will center or ego center, this red triangle up to the throat, and the emotional center up to the throat. So he could easily talk about himself, his ego, what he was doing, promote his work, and talk, or at least express a lot of emotion and passion. The connection here, the 2212 from the solar plexus to the throat, tends to be high highs and low lows with a lot of deep passion and emotion and romance and creativity. And I think we saw a lot of that expressed in his life, and a lot of ego from the will center to the throat. The next is this strong ego to the throat. So, this was a driving force. I think he was potentially a lot like a bull at a china shop with all of this energy and with this strong intentionality to make an impact on the world. He had a lot of strong individuality in his chart. So let's look at that. First, let's look at this open G center, which sometimes has people uncertain about their role in life, their path, who they are and what they want to do, where they want to be and go in life. I think he had a lot more clarity about that than a lot of others with an open G. And we see the two hanging gates on his open G, the gate 1 and gate 2, are both in the individual circuitry. So he was here to be different from the get-go in terms of his G. And also we see from the ajna to the throat, he had the 4323 channel, which is the freak to genius channel. I think he definitely exhibited genius energy, he could see things from a different perspective. He had a different paradigm that he viewed the world through, and he showed that to us and shared it to us, but in his own unique way as a very individual person, not here to fit in, not here to do things the way others do them. He also down here on the root center had the gate 39 defined, which is the gate of provocation, also in the individual circuitry. So he was here to provoke. The high expression of provocation is to restore the flow of energy. And I think he did that with his designs, with his concept of how structure and functionality worked with who we are as humans and how we live and how we can integrate with our environment. He also, I think, could be more in the low expression of provocation energy, very provoking in his relationships. He did not have a healthy relationship with the main architectural association, and he had, as I mentioned, some tempestuous personal relationships. So, and he had the gate of opinions here, the gate 17, so he could be opinionated and I think pretty forceful. He also had, as I mentioned, the 2212, which is also individual energy and also very creative and very emotional. So we can see a lot of the aspects of him just in looking at these few parts of his chart. He also really has quite a fascinating chart, which is one of the other reasons I wanted to do this celebrity review of his chart. So you can see the left side of his chart has a lot of white and almost no hanging gates. His spleen center is completely open, no hanging gates, which can mean either he had a lot of fears or was completely fearless. And from what I know about him, I think it was probably the latter, given two motors to the throat, manifestor energy. So he was, I think, fearless in moving forward, or at least could appear fearless to the world. He also had a completely open sacral center here, we see with no hanging gates. So he was taking in and amplifying other people's sacral energy around him with no filters. So I think that really supported him in being as prolific and effective in how much he created and put out into the world and the impact that he had. I want to now turn just briefly to his Jupiter energies over here. Jupiter is where we have our greatest blessings, growth, and expansion. And in his unconscious Jupiter here, the gate 49, which this is the gate of revolution. One of his greatest blessings was his ability to turn things upside down and create a revolution based on principle, which is what the 49 is about. And clearly he did that, and that was his greatest mark on the world, was this innovative way of interpreting how to design and create living spaces and working spaces for us that were quite different from anything that came before. And in the conscious position in Jupiter, he had the gate 37, which is the gate of peace and harmony. And I think he really expressed that in his strong intention and desire and accomplishment of integrating and harmonizing his buildings and his furniture and interiors with the way we live and with the environment. The Falling Water house that he designed in Pennsylvania is a magnificent example of that. It just blends into the reality of that setting and uses and expresses and flows with, literally flows with the water and flows with the environment in terms of how that building is shaped and designed and how it's used on the inside. So now let's turn briefly to his incarnation cross. Now in a reading, I would look at all four of these gate energies specifically, and then also the incarnation cross itself. And as we see here, the name of his cross is the right angle cross of rulership. And in his case, it really meant that he was a natural leader, that he had an inspiring mindset for leading people into creative new possibilities. The gate 26 meant that he could sell his ideas, and the gate 22 meant that he could be gracious as well as influential with the 45, a natural leader when the mood is right. But he was quite moody and probably, hopefully learned that when the mood was not right, that he was better off staying home and not being out in public and interacting with people. In the low expression of this incarnation cross, he could also potentially be manipulative and kind of manage or manipulate the mindset of others. He also had the potential to not tell the truth, to be a bit of a trickster with the gate 26 here. The high expression is integrity and truth. The low expression can be half-truths or or out-and-out lies, depending on how it's expressed. Not accusing him of being that. It's just the nature of the energy here and the possibility for expression. And finally, I want to talk about his chiron energies. Chiron energies are what our soul came into this life to master. And I'll just focus on the gate 36 here in the conscious chiron. And the gate 36 is the gate of adventure and new experiences. It's an emotional energy. It hangs here off of the emotional solar plexus. And he also had it in his chart, which is why it shows in the chart. Otherwise, chiron energies usually do not show up as colored in on the chart. But because he has the 36 here in his south node, that's why it's colored in on his chart. And this is a gate of, in the high expression, stretching the boundaries of human experience and human expression and human endeavor. And for him, that was really creating this clean functionality and this new aesthetic and integration with the environment that I've mentioned. So this was his big adventure and his big exploration into new possibilities for humanity. It's very much an energy of what if. You know, what if this were true? What if we could do this? What if we could change the way we do this to be better for humanity and for us moving forward? He had a very strong sense of creating things that would serve humanity moving into the future. And it was really, I think, a magnificent expression of his chart and his life, the legacy that we have from him and the impact that he had on us and the world. Well, I hope this celebrity chart review has been helpful and illuminating in understanding Frank Lloyd Wright specifically, and also perhaps in understanding yourself if you share any aspects of his chart, and or understanding your loved ones, and also really understanding the amazing diversity of how we are wired as human beings and what's possible for us as human beings. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is Evelyn Levinson signing off. Bye for now.